Do you know who the third richest man in the world is? It's a man named Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett worked delivering newspapers when he was 14 and 15 years old. He would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and when it was dark and everyone was sleeping, he would deliver newspapers. And he did this for more than 2 years. He delivered 200,000 newspapers over that time. And he earned 1 cent, 1 kopeck, if you like, today, 1 ruble per newspaper. And he saved the money. And he grew $2,000. And that $2,000 was his first investment. And he made that investment after careful study. And the investment grew. So he invested more money, and that investment grew. Last year, his total investments are worth $350 billion. Third or fourth largest single company in the United States. Last year, his profits were $25 billion. Warren Buffett has the same schedule almost every day. And what he does is he comes to work, and he spends 80% of his time studying and reading in the subjects relative to his business. Only 20% is in meetings or phone calls or anything else. He spends 80% of his time learning new things so he can make better decisions and get better results. When I was a young man, I came across a statistic that you've seen. It said that the average person only uses about 10% of their potential, and the other 90% is left unused throughout their lifetime. Well, recent research shows that that statistic is not true. The average person only uses about 2% of their potential, and the other 98% is stored like treasure buried in the ground, and it's never used. And what do people use their 2% for? Well, they use it mostly for conversation at work and with their friends. They use it for messaging and tweeting. They use it for watching television. Average person watches a screen 3 to 5 hours per day. And most of what they're watching is in category 2. It's completely irrelevant and unimportant. It makes no difference in their lives at all. But whatever you do over and over again becomes a habit. So today we have an entire generation of people who have the habit of watching screens all the time. And as a result, their lives go very, very slowly. Now, one of my favorite statistics is the measurement of the highest paid people in America. They looked at the 500 top executives of the 500 biggest companies. And every year they do this calculation. They find that last year the average person earns about $10 million. Now, this person started off at the beginning, at their first job, with no earning ability. And then somehow today, their companies are willingly paying them $10 million to come to work. What has happened? They ask, how is it that these people can be earning so much money in paycheck? They're receiving a pay of almost $1 million a month for going to work. And if they lost their job, for any reason, another company would hire them immediately and pay them $10 million a year. How can this happen? So, these researchers at a major university went back and they said, well, these people must be very intelligent. They must have special qualities or talents that could enable them to be so successful in life. So they went back and looked at their school records and the records at their first job and their second job. And you know what they found? These people were just average. But then they all started to practice a single strategy. And this is the strategy that will change your life and your career forever. And it's so simple, you can't believe it. When these people took their first job, the first thing they would do is they would go to their boss and they would say, boss, I want to make a valuable contribution in this work and I want to be successful in this company. What one skill would help me the most to be more successful, to make a more valuable contribution? And the boss would say, well, if you were very good at this, negotiating or team building or selling or reading financial statements, if you were really good at this, then you would be much more valuable than an average person. So they would say, okay, and they would write down the development of that skill as a goal, just like a lesson plan for a subject in school. And they would ask, What are the best books on this skill? What are the best audio programs to listen to for this skill? And finally, what can I do every day to develop this skill? How can I take action? And they would go to work, and they would work on this one skill. Like a sniper rather than a machine gunner, they would work on a single skill. And it might take them a month, and it might take them 3 months, and it might take them a year, but they would work every day on that skill. And here's the magic number. The magic number was 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, 10 hours in all. 2 hours per day of personal study on a single skill, 5 days per week. Now, what we're saying is that if you want to go to the top of your field and be one of the highest paid and most successful people in life, take 10 of those hours and invest them in yourself. That's all. And this turned out to be the strategy practiced by all the top people. I have worked with the presidents of some of the biggest companies in the world, and they spend 2 to 3 hours each week reading and upgrading their skills. Today, to go any further, you must develop new skills and new skills. How long does this go on? All your life. For the rest of your life, when you're surrounded by rapid changes in information and technology and competition and government policies, as long as there is rapid change going on outside of you, there must be rapid change and even faster change going on inside of you if you want to be successful. Now, I was reading something in philosophy a couple of years ago, and it said there are only certain things that a person can do for themselves. A person can only breathe for themselves. A person can only eat for themselves. A person can only drink for themselves. A person can only learn for themselves. So the one thing that only you can do is to learn. No one else can do it for you. No one else can give it to you. Only you can learn new things through hard work. I came from a poor home. We never had any money. When I left school, I did not graduate. My first job was washing dishes in the back of a small hotel. And when I lost that job, I got a job washing cars in the wintertime. When I lost that job, I got a job washing floors with a janitorial service. My wife was always giving me things to wash because she says she doesn't want me to lose my skill. I worked at laboring jobs until I was 23 years old. And when I could no longer get a laboring job, like many people here, I got a job in sales. And in sales, I was a complete failure because I had no training. So for 6 months, I worked and worked and worked, and I'm making no success at all. I say starting off in sales with no skills is a wonderful weight loss program, because if you don't sell, you don't eat. And I lost a lot of weight in that 6 months. And so finally, I did something that changed my life. I went to the top man in our company, who was a little bit older than me, but he was earning 10 times as much as I was. And I asked him, why are you so successful? Why are you earning so much money? And he said, well, show me your sales system, your sales process, and I will give you feedback on it. I said, well, I don't have a sales system. I just knock on doors and talk to people until they tell me that they're not interested. So he said, no. He said, that's not the way you sell. He said, the way you sell is by asking questions and then looking for ways to help your customers achieve their goals with our products. And so I went out and I started to ask questions rather than talking. And people started to respond to me differently. And then I began to read books on selling. And then I began to listen to audio programs on selling. And then I began to go to seminars on selling. And every time I learned something new, my sales went up and up and up. Within 1 year, I was earning 10 times as much. I was earning more at the age of 25 than I ever dreamed I would ever earn in my life. What I learned was this, is that every single field has success formulas. It has recipes that you can follow. And that if you do what other successful people do, you finally get the same results that they do. So for the rest of my life, whenever I got into another business, and I've been in 22 different businesses, I would sit down and study. I say, what is the success formula in this business? How do people succeed? What do the top 20% of companies and the top 20% of individuals do? And then I would do that. And I would soon get the same results. And people say, how can you be successful? You've never been in this business before. I said, I just read the books. I just talked to the top people, and they told me